Welcome to Charity Therapy, the podcast where we explore the ups and downs of the nonprofit sector and answer your burning questions. I'm your host, Jess Birkin, owner of Birkin Law Office, and I'm excited you're here. Imagine hanging out with me and my super smart, funny nonprofit expert pals. You get to ask them anything about your nitty-gritty nonprofit life and get their wisdom for free. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just strapping on your nonprofit boots, we're here to share stories and remind you you're not alone on this journey. So get ready to join the conversation and bring me the tough questions. I ain't scared. Ready to rock? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Charity Therapy. Megan and I are here to rock your world. Pew, 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 pew. Well played. Well played.
I was like, as soon as I could see you like rearing up for something, and I was like, how am I going to match this energy? So that was the closest I could get.
I was just glad that you were able to roll with that craziness.
I do my best.
All right. What is happening?
Okay.
It's podcast day. What are we
Today,
doing?
I was feeling a little devilish this morning when I was prepping for us to record, and I was like, you know what I'm really in the mood for is like a classic Jess Birkin rant, like TM. Like that is like what we're doing.
Who besides you is in the mood for a Jess Birkin
We're going to find
rant?
out.
I guess all of our
listeners.
listeners.
It's like we're going to find out if people listen to this episode. If they drop out now, we'll know that they're not actually in the mood for it. So stay on for a good rant.
Stay on. I'm going to rant, apparently. Okay. Here we go.
So this is something that I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's been a minute. So Jess, you have like a particular pet peeve about a specific kind of chart that sometimes shows up in nonprofit annual reports or websites or donor communications.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's typically
yes,
like
a
nice little pie chart, and it shows like this is what's going toward our program and this is what's going toward our overhead. But Jess, I know you could go for hours, but could you give us a little 30-second version of your rant about the nonprofit pie chart?
Yes. Okay. The chart Megan is referring to is the overhead pie chart that you see on the annual reports and the websites and the flyers that come asking you for money. And it says something like 92 cents of every dollar goes direct to program. And I want to burn that chart in hell. Okay. Burn it, throw it away, stab it right in the face, and recycle all of those charts. Because what that chart is trying to communicate, what they think it's communicating, is look how good we are. We spend so much of our money on direct program services. But what that chart actually is telling the donor is 8 cents of every dollar gets wasted.
Yep.
That's how that chart reads. And the second you say 92 cents of every dollar goes to program, the donor is thinking, well, why are you wasting the other 8 cents? And it pisses me off, pardon my language, but because the 8 cents is not wasted. In fact, you probably need to spend 10 cents or 12 cents some years, but you refuse to do that because the freaking pie chart would change. But what it means is we're just going to shortchange our infrastructure so that this graphic on a piece of paper or on the website doesn't do something that makes donors angry. Guess what? You could just not post the chart. Oh my God. Mind blowing up emoji. Just don't use the chart because you need the 8 cents. The 8 cents goes to the important back office things. When you're purchasing the food for your food shelf, you need Sandy in accounting to cut the checks. Otherwise, the food's not going to be on the shelf. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? The 8 cents matters too.
The 8 cents matters too.
I'm done.
Justice for the 8 cent.
I'll stand down.
You know, it's again a classic Jess Birkin rant when the voice gets a little squeaky. I'm like, we've definitely we've hit on something. It varies what that thing is.
She knows me too well.
But it's like here we are. Okay. So as you might imagine, that's a nice little precursor to our question for today. So just keep that little pie chart in said rant in mind as we run into this. So are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
I'm on the board of a nonprofit, and we need to update our employee handbook. The president wants us to contact her uncle, who's an attorney that has helped us in the past. but we've been dealing with some issues with our staff, and I think it's really important to work with someone who's an expert with HR. The pro bono lawyer does personal injury or some other kind of law for his normal work. Most of the folks on the board are holding firm that we cannot pay for a lawyer if there are attorneys out there who will help us for free. They think we're wasting money that should be going toward our programs. Am I in the wrong?
I'm going to smash something right now. Oh my gosh.
Just Birkin smash.
Just Birkin smash. Here's the thing. Okay. This is one of, what is the phrase? Cut off your nose to spite your face. This is one of those moments. This is when you are dealing with the employment litigation threat. Will you be able to rewind to this moment and take responsibility for the fact that you done messed up your employment law situation because you used Uncle Larry, the PI lawyer, to make your employee handbook? What the hell? Yeah. No. Here's the thing. It's not free to run a nonprofit. You cannot dedicate 92 cents of every dollar to program. Sometimes you're going to have to spend a little bit of money on running this organization. And having a good employee handbook, especially because it sounds like they already have employees and it needs updating, probably because the employment laws are changing like every 4 months. There's some new law, medical marijuana, family leave for the state, municipal sick and safe time, whatever it is. The laws are always changing about employees and how you are legally allowed to handle them. And we should not go to a non-expert for this. Employment law in particular is one of the most risky areas. Because why? Because people are involved, of course. That is the biggest risk we have, is fighting over employment issues. So no, don't ask Larry. First of all, Uncle Larry is going to want to say yes to help you out. But Uncle Larry knows that he doesn't know what he's doing. So he's going to say yes to be nice and then be scared and like worried the entire time because he doesn't do that all day long. You need to deal with someone who does that all day long. So whoever is saying, I want to work with someone who's an expert with HR stuff. Yes. Yes, that is the correct answer. Even I'll give you a middle ground. Even if you're like, we don't want a lawyer to do this because lawyers are expensive. I get that. Go use Gusto. Go use Bambi. Get a service that's a cloud-based payroll service and a cloud-based HR service. Like if you use Gusto for payroll, and Gusto, if you're out there and you want to sponsor this podcast,
hit us up.
Get at me. Okay. But if you use Gusto for payroll, you can upgrade your account to have like a basic HR, and that will include a legally compliant employee handbook. I'm not going to say it's probably the greatest handbook ever, but it will meet the law and it is better than nothing. And it will be included in your service for a very reasonable price. And they update it regularly. Like you will get little notifications like, hey, the law changed and we're updating this provision in your handbook. So that's a better solution than just free from a lawyer who doesn't really do this. That, like, I'll give you that not everybody has the budget to hire competent counsel. I understand. But to be like, we should just get free stuff is not the right answer.
Well, and kind of reading between the lines on this question, they say that a lot of the people already on the board are like very strongly that they cannot pay for a lawyer if there are attorneys who can help for free. And I think this is one of those things that in the nonprofit world, we think the cheapest is the best.
Ooh.
And there can be some...
And or that it's required.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That some people genuinely believe that they are misspending the funds. Like, if I have to go for the free option, like that's the only responsible action because we're spending donated funds on this and we shouldn't be able to do that. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, you don't have to go with the free, cheapest, like less financial burdensome option. Like, it is okay.
That's right.
To prioritize.
That's
expertise.
right up there with, we have to use Robert's rules. A conflict can never exist. Yep. What else? The bottom line must zero out at the end of the year.
We pay no tax
file
ever.
under No taxes ever in any category. These are all like myths that people pick up from the ether and then perpetuate as if there's some legal requirement. I love that you're bringing this up because it genuinely may be the case that they just don't know what they don't know, and they really believe that the fiduciary duties require this or the law requires this. And like, no, the law requires that you execute your fiduciary duties, which includes doing what's right for the organization, which includes following all the laws, including employment laws, which includes not putting the organization at risk. And what you're planning here will create more risk.
Yeah.
And so like, it's the opposite, actually.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're worried about doing the right thing in this situation, if the question was, do we pay way over market value for the board president's family member to do our legal because they're the board president's family member and that's just what we do? Yeah, that would be questionable. But like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hiring an expert who charges for services like pretty much every single like reputable business will do. Like, you are not getting free services at the like top of the game. Like, you are getting the leftover time at the end of the day when the person is already exhausted by their actual paid work.
Yeah, and it'll be 3 months
100%.
late because it's not their most important thing. You know what we don't know here is how many employees they have. And like the ranter in me right now is like thinking, and they probably have like 46 employees and are on the cusp of like FMLA, family medical leave is about to be required. And they really should have a dedicated HR manager, but they're quibbling over who should update the employee handbook. That's my cynical side. If this organization has, less than 5 employees, you still need that handbook, but like using an online service like Gusto or Bambi would be totally fine, right? The cynic in me is like they probably should have a whole HR department, and this is the answer. But
cynic, but
my guess is they're small.
Grounded in reality, right? We've seen this with clients before, where it's like, hold on, wait, you don't have anyone helping you with that, like, and we can't help with that. We're not an employment law firm, so we need to like get you set up, like, with something to help. And it's just this pervasive idea that nonprofits should not have to pay for anything or are not allowed to pay for things can really get in the way of building something that is like effective and sustainable and will like actually do the work you're hoping towards your mission. Because it doesn't help to burn out after a year because one employee got mad and sued the organization and everything went down in a fiery heap because we didn't have anything set up properly. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I really want this listener to use that like 3 Toyota Ys or whatever. This is one of those scenarios.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Looking at me like, what are you saying? This is one of those things. If you read all the like business guru books that I like have baked in for most of my early years, there's this concept, and I forget where it comes from. We can find it and put it in the show notes. But it's like the Toyota company was big on Kaizen, like Kanban and process improvement, but also like getting down to the nub of like, why do you think that? So when they say they think we're wasting money that should go towards program, why? Like, why is it wasting? And I just wonder if at the end of when you ask, okay, why? Well, because it should go towards program. Okay, why should it go towards program? Well, because the program delivers our mission. Okay, well, like, why is that the most important thing? And if the answer to that, the final, like, why is, well, because if we spend more than 92 cents,
bring it back,
8 cents on overhead, then we'll have to tell everyone that we aren't spending money on program. Then we need to burn that pie chart. You don't need to include it in the next annual report. Like, it's okay this year and for every year going forward, you can consider the money that you're spending on the employee handbook as supporting the work that your staff are doing. Because you can't have staff who deliver the mission without following employment laws, without giving people paid time off, without giving people freedom from sexual harassment policy, without giving people a clue about how discipline and discharge are handled at the organization. So in a way, if you think about it long enough, paying for the employee manual actually is supporting the staff who are running the program, and therefore that 8 cents is not something else. It's supporting your program happening. And then we can link again to the Propel Nonprofits, Kurt Klotz's true program costs chart, which shows the administrative expenses are in the center, supporting everything built out around it. Because I just wonder if that's why they think they're wasting the money on
Well, and
it's not going to programs, so it's wasted, is the wrong way to think about it.
And I think that similar to some people might think that they're literally not allowed to do this, I think in a similar way, there are folks who will be like, well, then we're hiding things from our donors. Like, we're not telling them that the amount has gone up or that it's different. And it's just like, at the end of the day, donors don't care. Like,
No,
they
they
don't
don't.
see that pie chart, and that's what makes them think about it. If you start communicating about the value of your programs, about the effectiveness of your programs, all
The
of those
outcomes, things you accomplished, differences you made.
that's what they're going to focus
Nope.
on. So it's all about saying, it's not that you're hiding this pie chart from them. It's you are changing the way that you think about the expenses of the nonprofit, and you're also helping donors see different ways to think about how the nonprofit is functional. And it whether like how big that tiny little sliver of the pie chart is not actually a good indicator about whether this is a strong nonprofit, whether you're actually doing anything towards your mission, whether your programs are effective or useful for the people that you're trying to help. Like, that doesn't tell you any of those things. And really, those are the things that your donors care about more.
Yeah. And if you must have a chart, then you use the new true program costs chart. You can just do a different chart. It's still a circle. It'll still take up the same spot on your website or your report. I promise.
Switch that guy right in there.
It's going to be okay. So to the listener, are you wrong? No, you are not wrong. We should hire an expert, or we should get a cloud-based service that's a happy medium that's still legally compliant. Don't ask the brain surgeon to do heart surgery. You would never do that. You would never do that in a medical scenario. So don't do it in a legal scenario. And rant ended.
Okay. Let me just pull out some things from that. I think we both talked much faster than normal. So for anyone that was listening at 2 times speed and was like, oh no,
this topic makes me want to throw stuff. I'm holding a coaster and I just like the gif of the little girl shaking the
hairbrush
thing, looking angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me break it down. So for nonprofits, not everything is free. Not everything needs to be free. Not everything should be free. It is okay, and in fact, required that you're going to invest in things that are for the back office in order to make your mission successful. So there is no such thing as spending no money on overhead. And in fact, we need to embrace the ways that our overhead, quote unquote, costs fuel our activities for our mission. So that's one big thing. Secondly, it's important not to just go for the cheapest option as well. Hire experts. You exercise your fiduciary duties to make sure that you are doing what's in the best interest of the nonprofit. And usually that means finding something that is legally compliant, particularly for things like HR, employment law. We do not want this to become a problem that will distract us from our main goal down the line. And finally, if you have a overhead pie chart on your website or in your annual newsletter or whatever, cut it out right now.
Burn it.
Take it out. Use the one that we have linked, or think about other ways that you can communicate to your donors that you are a good steward of their funds, because this chart is not doing what you think it's doing for you or anyone else. So it's time to say goodbye.
Yep.
Those are my
100%.
things. Jess, did you have other takeaways here?
No, you summed it up brilliantly. And I need Jerry Stiller, and we're going to go scream Serenity now because my blood pressure is spiked. I'm I needed to go take 10 deep breaths. Woosah!
Yeah, we're gonna go do a meditation video. Go open that Calm app or something.
There you go. There you go. Folks, listen, if you enjoyed this very animated, ranty episode, I'm going to need you to share it with your friend who's at a nonprofit that's using the pie chart. Leave a rating. Subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I would really love to get your subscription. Thank you so much. It is free, by the way. So just go ahead and push the button. If you have a story to share, please write to us, call us, do whatever, get at us. We want to hear your story and rant about your situation in the future. As always, thanks so much for listening. See you next time.